Hello everyone, Mike the MC, bringing another self-care video. Today I'm going to bring you Catechism number 262 with respect to being consubstantial. This is in the brief section of the Trinity, and now that we're going to finish this conclusion of the Trinity, thinking of the word consubstantial, what does it mean to relate that to other important people in our life? The people who are dependent upon our success. And so we're going to look at that with respect to this part of the Catechism and see where this takes us. And so here's number 262 of the in brief with the Trinity. 262. The incarnation of God's Son reveals that God is the eternal Father and that the Son is consubstantial with the Father, which means that in the Father and with the Father, the Son is one and the same God. And so with all the pieces together, with everybody in line in unison, it's nice when the whole team is working together and they're on the same page. But let me ask you this. When you consider prayer, going into a bit of a spiritual topic now, with this idea of looking at who's dependent upon you and your success, if you consider, okay, if I don't qualify for this certification, if I don't qualify for this job, if I don't qualify for that, how is my role being valued with respect to the people who are dependent upon me? Do I value my role? Do I value my responsibility? Do I see myself, my responsibility, in line with the other people who need me to step up with respect to them and their lives as well, the dependents? And I think the dependents are very interested to know also not only how you are going to grow, but then if you are not going to follow through, right? This leads into the loss of relationships, the loss of family, the loss of other horrible things that we can think about, or of good things, the loss of good things into horrible situations, I mean. And we consider how, when we don't consider the value of our responsibility of things, when we're not in line with everybody, this is where all the discontinuements happen in life, the disconnections. Why is it that when you look at the divorce rate and all these other people who want to do things in life, yet they cannot be on the same page? The dependents in this regard are not considering how it is that the one who is trying to protect them is probably struggling even at times. And then the one who is protecting the dependents, it doesn't recognize his or her role that the other people need from them to satisfy the needs of everybody. And so everyone's got to be on the same page. And so the dependents with respect to the Trinity, okay, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we think about this idea of prayer going in this direction, what I was going to allude to, the sense that, okay, if I have a conversation with the Father, all right, he has his idea for me. What about the Son? What is Jesus's idea for me? And then the Holy Spirit. What is the Holy Spirit's idea for me? And then you're thinking, okay, if I have the conversation with all three of them, all right, and we're on the same page, in the same line, unison, right, the ideal of where you want to be when you have all this communication, all of a sudden now, everyone that is dependent is now no longer in a state of need, but rather in a state of producing, of completing, a state of wanting to succeed. And you think, all right, we're on the same page, and you break the assumptions. You break the assumptions of what everyone is wanting in that relationship, what everyone is wanting in that healthy family, what everyone is wanting at the business, etc., etc. And so when you are now on the same page and no longer making an assumption among all different parties, being consubstantial means now you are now together, so connected that you are beyond the assumptions, and now you are now moving forward in a continued conversation where everyone is now free to discuss what has to be said, but also being aware of the objective that is at hand. That is the beauty of being consubstantial with everybody in life, being connected, being a part of one. And so you may all be people in this whole family of some kind, maybe in a big family, a small family, whatever, but the idea here is it's a family. That's the definition for everybody. And so if you're small or a big family, right, you are now at least having that open dialogue, open communication to where now you are clear of the objectives, past the assumptions, and now you can go and tackle what has to be done for the sake of everybody. And that is a beautiful thing to consider. That is something to think about with respect to the Trinity. And so how does the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, between you and them, you have your conversations with each of them, relate back to everyone that is dependent upon you in life, that is dependent upon your success? And how can you relate that kind of idea of being in line, in unison with other people, with others who want to listen to these ideas to you? How are you going to teach this idea of being consubstantial and sharing this idea of being one together as one unit in whatever role you are? How are you going to share these ideas? And so when you answer these big questions, you're not only going to be able to help the people who are dependent upon you, but the dependents will help you now to know what has to be addressed so that everyone is on the same page with what has to be accomplished. And now everything is now moving forward. These are wonderful ideas to consider. So have that in mind when you look at this from a non-Catholic perspective, of non-religious even, considering this idea of being in one, in unison together. Just things to consider. All right, everyone. Hope this one finds you well with number 262 of the Catechism. Don't give up on yourself. Keep pushing, pursuing that idea of communication, being online with everybody. And always remember that communication and being in line with everybody can really free yourself from the assumptions that people are assuming between the top and the bottom people, that everything is now clear. The objectives are set, and you now know what to accomplish, and now all your resources can go to obtaining that objective and making sure that once it's achieved, everyone is okay. Then you could go and achieve the next objective. Things to consider. All right, everyone. Hope this video finds you well. Take care. Have a good one.